Now, if you were to come and visit my garden at most times of the year, it wouldn't be long before you found some pansies somewhere in the garden. I grow them in containers, I grow them in borders, and I grow them in hanging baskets because they produce such a lovely, colourful, vibrant display for most parts of the year. And the great news is that pansies are also very cold tolerant, so you can plant them in late fall, autumn or early winter to give you a lovely early display for the following spring. In this video, I'm going to show you how I grow pansies from seed right through to flowering to hopefully give you some inspiration so that you can grow your own. Now, I've always found pansies relatively straightforward to grow, and you can grow pansies, which are the larger type of flowers here, or a very similar flower which grown exactly the same way are violas. And both types of flower are always a real nice addition to the flower bed, mixing with other types of flowers. Now, of course, you could go and purchase flowers from your garden centre or your DIY store that are already grown in trays of 6, 12 or whatever you want. But in my opinion, it's always much more cost effective and much more fun to grow them from seed for yourselves. For example, this packet of seeds that I'm going to use today is a variety called Early Flowering. It costs just £1. There's 120 seeds in here, and even though they might not all germinate, I am going to get much better value by growing them for myself because, as you can see, you get a lot more plants for your money. Now, there's quite a range of different varieties of pansies and violas to choose from, but I tend to grow mixed varieties, and as I've just mentioned, the pansies that I'll be growing today are a variety called Early Flowering, and I've also got a variety of violas called Flora Power Mixed, and they're an F1 variety. Now, today I'm going to show you how to sow pansy seeds and how to look after them. Eventually they will get to a larger size. Now, these pansies over here that you can see on this side of the table, they were sown round about 10 weeks ago. When they got their first true leaves after about 4 weeks, I transplanted them carefully into these plug trays here, and each of these trays hold 24. So I've got 48 plants already that are ready to plant out. But I'm going to plant some more today because I do want that regular supply all the way through the year. So in order to sow our pansy seed, we need a good quality, well-draining compost mix. My preference is to use a potting mix such as this, which is called Clover, which is a peat-based compost mix. And those of you who are growing in the UK will know that this will be banned from 2024 because peat-based compost will not be available, and therefore we have to use alternative peat-free methods. But for the moment, I still have got some of this left, and that's what I'm going to use to pot the seeds. Now, in order to sow our pansy seeds, we just need a few simple things. Obviously, we need a seed tray. This is a quarter tray, which is perfect for sowing seeds, particularly with pansy seeds, because they don't tend to have an awful lot of seeds in the packet. So we're just going to use a quarter tray to sow these seeds. We also need some water, and I'll be using my homemade watering container here, which many of you would have seen on lots of other videos on the channel if you watch videos on a regular basis. We also need a plastic bag or some cling film, and obviously we need our pansy seeds. So the first thing I'm going to do is put some compost into my quarter seed tray. Now, the compost is not going to be right to the top, it's going to be round about 3/4 full. So I'm just going to put some compost just into the tray. Now what I want to do is gently tap it down with my hand. You don't want to force it down too hard, you just want to firm the compost gently. It's just so that when the seeds germinate, those seeds, and start to form their initial roots, they have something to bind into. But you do want to maintain some air in the compost, otherwise if it's too compacted, it really restricts the growth of the young seedlings. So just gently tamp it down, nice and firm, and there we have our compost. Now, crucially, with pansy and other small seeds, always water the compost first before you put the seeds in. So we'll give this a nice, good soaking. You must remember that if you use a watering container that has a large rose or even maybe a spray, it can force the compost and the seeds out of the tray, which is exactly why I use this homemade container, because it provides a nice, gentle spray on top of the seedlings. Now what we're going to do is take our seedlings out of the packet, and we're going to gently put them on top of the compost. So what we'll do is we'll put them in our hand, and as you can see, they're very, very tiny seeds. And because they're tiny seeds, what we're going to do, we're going to pick a few up in between our thumb and our forefinger and gently rotate and just allow the seeds to fall into their various positions. Now, at this stage, we're not really over worried about their spacing because we're going to transplant these when they get to a certain size anyway. But like all seeds, if you can give them space, it just makes it easier when you come to transplant. Now, you can just see the seeds at the top of the compost there. Now remember, they're very tiny seeds. So what we're now going to do is sprinkle a very, very thin coating of compost just over the top, just by rotating the compost between our finger and thumb, just like the seeds. And then once again, we're just gently going to tap the compost down so it just provides a little bit of firmness over the top of the seeds. And then once again, we'll just give it a very light watering. Now remember that we don't need an awful lot of water at this stage because we've already wet the compost underneath. And be careful with the force in which you water with these seeds because they're so small. It could be so easy to wash the compost and the seeds out of the tray. And that's as simple as it is to sow your pansy seeds. Now, in order to germinate, pansies like reasonably warm conditions, around about 15 to 20 degrees centigrade, which is around about 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So what we want to do is put them in a nice location where they can be nice and warm. So that could be a windowsill, or you might have a greenhouse or a polytunnel, or somewhere where those temperatures can be achieved. They don't really favour direct sunlight, so maybe somewhere there's partial light would be a really good idea. Now, in order to help the germination process along, there's two things we can do. We can put the seed tray into a plastic bag and then keep it covered until they germinate. But if you haven't got plastic bags, just cover it with a little bit of cling film, nice and tight, until you see the seedlings start to appear. So as you can see, I'm going to use a plastic bag for mine, just to keep it nice and warm and cosy until the seedlings have germinated. And one final thing, if you are sowing seeds, always remember to pop a label in. So I'm going to pop that inside the bag. Now once the seeds have germinated, if you've put a plastic bag over them, take the plastic bag off or take the cling film off and put them back into the same positions where they get a really good amount of light in order to help them to grow even further. For watering, you want to keep them constantly watered and moist but not saturated. That's really important. So therefore, just watering with a small container or even a mist spray at regular periods is much better than trying to use something like a watering can which completely flood or saturate the compost. So constant watering is important but not overwatering. What we're actually looking for is nice moist compost but not saturated. Now the right time to transplant your seedling is when they've got round about 2 sets of true leaves. That's leaves in addition to their original germination leaves. Once they're that size, you can start to lift them and put them into individual cell trays, just like I have here. These cell trays are a perfect size for growing pansies. You can see actually the roots already coming out the bottom over here, which tells me that they're nice, healthy plants. And these are actually ready now for transplanting into their final flowering positions. Now, one final major bonus with pansies is they do tolerate cool temperatures. A lot of flowers don't, but pansies are okay. They can tolerate sub-zero temperatures. So you can even plant your pansy flowers in late summer, autumn, fall, or even early winter, and they will tolerate the frost. And in that situation, that'll provide a lovely early bloom during the spring. Now for your summer pansies, you'll be sowing those seeds between April and round about June or early July, and that'll give you a lovely display in late summer onwards. One thing to be aware of for planting pansy plants out during the fall, autumn or winter, that if you do get any snow, it'd be worthwhile removing that from the top of the plant because the weight of the snow can have a detrimental effect on the plant. Now, unlike a lot of flowers, pansies are slightly different in as they prefer not to be in direct sunlight. They will grow in direct sunlight, but they do take more maintenance. So therefore, a nice partially shaded area is absolutely perfect for pansies. They do like those slightly cooler temperatures. And once planted, it's just a case then of keeping an eye on the watering. Just like with the seedlings, the compost needs to be continually moist, but not overly saturated. And in really hot periods, they might benefit from a little mulch around them. So that could be something like straw or grass clippings that will help to retain the moisture in really hot temperatures and help to stop it evaporating too quickly. And also to maintain a continual regular supply of wonderful flowers, deadheading is really important. That's when the flowers have died off and you'll pinch off the dead flowers, and that just helps the plant concentrate its energy on producing even more flowers. Now pansies are relatively pest resistant, but like a lot of other flowers and vegetables, they're not completely immune. So keep an eye out for things like aphids, slugs, snails, which can sometimes take a liking to pansies. But as you can see, that pansies are a wonderful flower, really easy to grow, and something that will give you beautiful colours in your flower garden for most parts of the year. So I do hope you've enjoyed the video and it's demonstrated to you how easy it is to grow pansies and maybe inspired you to grow some for yourself. But thank you very much for watching the video, and if you did enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to subscribe to the channel for future videos on how to sow and grow fruit, vegetables and flowers, and 1 or 2 recipe ideas, don't forget to press the subscribe button, and I'll see you all on the next video.